Hey guys, are you enjoying the view of my background? Oh wait, you can barely see it, because as much as I think the Sony ZV-1 is awesome, that angle of view, it's just too tight for vlogging. But wait, because there is a better way. And if, like me, you are tired of receiving spam emails all about lengthening certain parts of your body, you're sure to enjoy today's vlog, which is all about widening the Sony ZV-1's viewing angle. But wait again. You see, there are two great lens options for the Sony ZV-1 which are going to help you get angles wider than a sumo on treat day. Today, we're going to test, compare and conclude which option is the best for you. Now, over to Future Dave for an overview. God, I hate that guy.
Thanks, Past Dave. Such a nice guy. Now, let's take a second to appreciate the cool names of our competitors. We have the Ulanzi and the Zomei. It would be embarrassing if I hadn't pronounced those right. We are going to cover everything that you need to know about these two wide-angle lens options, including field of view for both vlogging and landscapes, image quality, price and value, build quality, and whether they're going to work with a gimbal. Plus, stick around to the end for conclusions. Should you buy one lens, the other, both, neither, and a wildcard alternative option. And just before we start, if this video ends up being interesting or enjoyable, then a like, subscribe, and share would be amazing, and your questions are super welcome in the comments. Plus, did you know over 70% of my subscribers have not been hit by a meteor in the last 12 months? So if you want that kind of safety, then get on board. Ready? Then let's go. Field of view is the main reason we care about these wide lenses, so let's start off with some comparisons. ZV-1 with no wide-angle lens at the top, Ulanzi on the left and Zomei on the right. These are all with active steadyshot, held at arm's length to best match a simple vlogging setup. Both wide lenses offer a much nicer vlogging view than the ZV-1 alone, with much more nice background and much less of this not so nice face. There doesn't seem to be a big difference in field of view between the Zomei and Ulanzi, but if we take a closer look at this example, we can see the Zomei is slightly wider. Watch the green metal thing in the background on the left and the grey sign in the background on the right, and you'll see the Zomei gives you a subtle but noticeably wider field of view. If you use standard steady shot and then catalyst browse stabilisation, then the results will look something like this. Check the description for a guide to catalyst browse if you don't already know about this awesome free stabilisation software for the ZV-1. So either wide lens is going to give you a really nice vlogging angle, and while the Zomei is a little wider, when you're actually speaking and drawing attention to the centre of the frame, you probably won't notice a big difference between that and the Ulanzi. But what about landscapes and B-roll shots, I hear you ask? Here, we are using standard steady shot since we aren't walking around, and without a professional numpty like me in the middle of the shot, we more easily see that the Zomei is wider than the Ulanzi. Watch the extra bit of the roof on the right and how we capture more of the red car on the left with the Zomei, but not with the Ulanzi in this example. Across our other examples, the Zomei is consistently wider and captures that little bit more scenery, but you might notice something around the edge of the image. We're going to talk more about that in the next section. What about zoom? Honestly, I don't use it very much, but if you do, then avoid the Zomei. You'll see in the example here that zooming in by more than about 1/3 of the range is going to leave you with a blurrier mess than my memories after a night drinking champagne and absinthe. Fun fact, that is actually a real cocktail favoured by Ernest Hemingway. But remember, if you want to get zoomy, then avoid the Zomei. I'll see myself out. How about image quality? Well, at the centre of the frame, both the Zomei and the Ulanzi look good and sharp, but at the edges, things get a bit more interesting. Did you spot the slight bowing and distortion at the edge of our Zomei landscape shots? It's like a very mild fisheye effect, similar to a fish pie effect, but 80% less tasty. The Ulanzi has none of this and maintains a consistent image all the way across the frame. That's likely the superior lens quality of the more expensive Ulanzi, but I actually kind of like the distortion effect of the Zomei for vlogging. Your background is meant to be nicely out of focus, so this distortion around the edges actually emphasises the beautiful blurry background bokeh and draws attention toward the centre of the frame. As Stony Dre, one of my favourite commenters, said, the Zomei can give a really nice ethereal look. That can be cool for landscapes too, but the Ulanzi is probably a better choice for a more straightforward wide shot. In low light, both perform well, but the Ulanzi has much more noticeable lens flare than the Zomei or the ZV-1 alone. I think it looks cool, but if you don't like the flare, you could always use the Zomei and then crop in slightly to remove edge distortion since it's slightly wider anyway. Interested in a detailed guide for shooting in low light with the Sony ZV-1? Check the link in the description. Now I hear you ask, can they work with a gimbal? Yes, next section. Alright, a bit more detail, but you should know I'm trying to overcome a gimbaling problem. I'll see myself out. Both lenses will balance and work on a gimbal like the Xeon Crane M2, giving you great stabilisation and even wider potential angles, since you can use standard steady shot rather than active steady shot, which crops in a little. Though, confession, I was kind of dumb, forgot to switch from active to standard steady shot, so these examples are slightly more cropped in than what you could achieve on standard. You can also tilt the gimbal to smoothly control shots from widest to tightest, and every gimbal mode worked fine with both lenses in my testing. If you want to see more about how to balance the Xeon gimbal and the kind of shots it can get, or one of my favourite vlog setups combining the Xeon, the Zomei and the ZV-1 for 3Z action, then check out the videos linked in the description. Like me now, compared to before lockdown, the Ulanzi is 27% heavier than the Zomei at 114 grams versus 94. That makes balancing the Ulanzi on the gimbal more tricky, effort intensive and precise than the Zomei, but it will still work. Talking of our weighty Ulanzi brings me on to build quality and feel. Both lenses have a nice feeling metal construction and are pleasingly solid. The Ulanzi has a smaller diameter, but it's thicker as well as heavier than the Zomei. Both will fit in a pocket or large bag, but my small camera bag found it easier to fit the Zomei than the Ulanzi. Man, this is hard to see through. Both come with lens protectors for both sides of the glass. The Ulanzi has a few other tricks we'll get to in a second, and the Zomei includes a very nice little leather pouch. I don't have any quality concerns about either. I slightly prefer the feel and look of the Ulanzi, but I prefer the lightness and slimness of the Zomei. But, like an elderly billionaire unexpectedly marrying a young model, you might be wondering, how much is all of this going to cost? The Ulanzi is £50, but includes the 52mm adapter that you'll need to attach it, as well as a modest macro lens you can access by unscrewing the outer part of the lens. The Zomei is considerably cheaper at around £15 to £20, but if you don't already have one, you'll need to spend a similar amount on a 52mm adapter like this Profession one that I have. Here are some quick examples of the macro lens in action. It definitely increases the magnification you get compared to the already decent macro of the ZV-1, but it's pretty modest. Like the refillable drinks at Nando's, it's a nice option to have, but whether it's going to be useful enough to justify that extra cost is up to you. If you're interested in more extreme macro with the ZV-1, then I've got you covered. Video linked in the description.
I said I would give you a wildcard alternative, and as much as I like the two wide-angle lenses we've been looking at, if all you want is a wider angle for vlogging at the cheapest possible price, then you should consider something like what I'm using right now, an extendable selfie stick tripod. I picked this one up for £7, which in pretentious currency is what we call 2 coconut lattes.
You can also combine the selfie stick with either wide-angle lens to get even wider and more flexible shots like the ones you're seeing here. If you're interested in more cheap but powerful accessories to get more from your ZV-1, then there's a video for that linked in the description. So, conclusions. Just want a wider vlogging angle for the lowest cost? Get a cheap extendable selfie stick and walk as carefully as you would when trying to convince somebody that you're not drunk. Need a more portable solution or want a wide-angle lens for the look or flexibility? Then the Zomei or the Ulanzi could work great for you. The Zomei is slightly wider but introduces some distortion at the edges. I actually like it for vlogging, less so for landscapes. It's lighter and slimmer, but you'll need to get a 52mm adapter separately just to attach it. Even after that, it's still significantly cheaper. The Ulanzi gives you a one-stop solution, which is nearly as wide as the Zomei, but has consistent image quality all the way across the frame. Your extra cash also picks up a 52mm adapter to attach it straight in the box, and a modest but decent macro lens. It's up to you to work out what cost and features you care about, because honestly, all three choices are solid and can produce excellent results. I actually like having the flexibility of the different looks that I get from each of them. Which brings us to the end for today. Thank you so much for watching, and especially for making it all the way to the end of the video. If it was useful or enjoyable, then a like, subscribe or share would be incredible. And any questions or thoughts, please drop them in the comments. So, until next time, take it easy. This probably isn't good for my brain.